Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, David. I hope you're streaming.
As far as I know, we are.
Well, it's one of those things I haven't been here in a while. You haven't been here in a bit as well. So, hello everyone. We have not abandoned. Was that mine that just went bling?
Yeah, I just hung up on Skype because I could hear us like 17 times.
Oh, that would be bad.
We Skype before the thing, and then sometimes we forget to mute after the thing, and it was great. Anyway, good morning. Good morning.
Oh, you know what I didn't do?
5 and 5 on sound and video. This can't be. This
No
can't
way.
be.
I forgot to bring up my video. That
Stick.
almost. I needed pop out chat.
Oh, see there, something went wrong. He forgot to pop out chat.
Yep.
That's our something has gone wrong for the day.
Hey, all right. I got pop out chat. Yeah.
Huzzah!
Hey, Dominic's here. Stig's here.
Give it 10 minutes. Come on, have some faith, guys. I mean, we came to all of our programs saying they didn't exist and needed updates, and
Yeah.
we made it with
What
30
happens when you
seconds.
neglect your computers for a couple weeks.
I wouldn't call it neglect. It's like I don't have time for you updates. We know.
So we do have some news. We'll get that over with right away, but we should thank some people.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Hold on.
Because I think these people are wonderful, so we need to thank them.
This is done.
So.
It did it.
So these people are great. These are Patreons, and we just like to thank everyone. Pardon me. And if you want to join us on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/3dmakeit and join us there. We'll do updates. We do special things for our patrons, and we really love their support. Without their support, we couldn't do some of the projects we do. So thank you so much to everyone on that list.
That was well put, sir. Well put.
Yeah. So we got some people in chat, and we got summer coming up. So just be aware that in a few weeks here, end of July or June. Sorry,
it's like July. Yeah,
the end of June is kind of our summer here, and so we will be sporadic with our streaming and whatnot, because we actually, are going to do stuff like camp and stuff like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Summer things.
Summer things. So, but we do have the news, like I said. So a couple things since we saw each other the last time. There is a new Marlin. I'm getting all I think I need a drink. Marlin 2.1.2.1. We got a 0.1 release. Basically, it's bug fixes to fix a few things that went kind of wacky, and then there's not a huge amount of improvements. There's a couple, no groundbreaking new features, but they did add some new boards. They added a bunch of the Manta boards, an Octopus Max Easy board, and an SKR3 and SKR3 Easy is now officially in the code, and a Soval 1.3.1 board. Those are kind of the big additions. Other than that, it's mostly bug fixes. So if you have one of those boards and you're on the developer, please, think about going to the stable version. Other than that, the only other thing that I found, unless David found something else, was Prusa Slicer 2.6 Beta 3. So we're getting close to release candidates. So hopefully they'll be coming soon. But there's quite a few new features, lots of bug fixes and whatnot. So it'll be nice when it finally comes out, and then we'll go on a full feature review and maybe a comparison. David does some really good comparison videos of Prusa Slicer and whatnot. So,
I compare things. It's true.
yes,
I've been known to compare things. Yeah. So I mean, there's some cool things. The fact that Prusa Slicer's in beta, is pretty sweet. It means that we're getting pretty close to the release. But like, even the last alpha was stable. So, like I've been using that for forever. There's not really like. There's some new printers coming. Like we know about the K1s coming from Creality. And we did have discussion, and I'm going to throw it out to you guys too in a second here. But I'd like to do kind of like a Patreon stream next week. But I think it would be neat if we printed something very functional and brought it and had show and tell. And so I would like to do a Patreon stream with show and tell of functional prints. So if you have some functional stuff, we next week or the next time we do the Patreon stream, we may try pulling everybody into Discord and bouncing the stream to YouTube. I think that would one, let more people join, because if we did have all the Patreon joins at once, we don't actually have a license for enough people.
Well, yeah, I think we'll have to do an
So,
experiment with that.
But that's what I'm saying. We could experiment with all friends.
All right. Well, yeah.
But yeah, so next week, and even if you're not a Patreon, you can print something and post it onto the Facebook group too, and we can see what's going on. But I think that would be a neat thing for the Patreon live stream. Now, we wrapped up our Marlin. We had 3 sessions, and we actually have a lot of Marlin videos on the channel too to go through. Gary asked a question. Did you make it to Maker Faire? No, we did not. We did not go this year.
Lots of different reasons, and yeah. So
the stars did not align. But
which is kind of unfortunate. Prusa was there, and a few other things.
Yeah, it looked like a good time, but
to have gotten there, but
we did not make it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, briefly, and I'm glad that some of the Patreon guys are here too, but we've done our Marlin. Like I said, we've got all that finished. Now we have Klipper, and we're going to go through Klipper, but looking at the calendar, we have, let's see, 4 live streams before we hit like the summer time for us, and it might even be less than that, because like you guys know, I leave almost every weekend to go camp, which, I mean, we could do an afternoon stream because usually we're back at like 3 or something, but the question is,
we'll play by ear.
Yeah, so the question is do you guys want us to start Klipper now, or do we want to wait until there won't be a break in the middle of Klipper? Now, Klipper,
I think, will be a little more involved, just because the flashing part, that's not going to be so big, but there are a lot of pieces that you can do in the. First of all, you got to set up your template printer file, so that you can get your basic end stops and whatnot, and so we can go through some of that, but then it gets into the weeds when you do different types of scripts and whatnot that you need to do various different functions. So
yeah,
I mean, it depends how deep dive we go into it.
Yeah, because like at a high level, I mean, it's easy because you flash firmware to a board that should work, but sometimes doesn't. And then the
It's
config
the PI
file.
configuration piece that, if you're new,
Yeah.
it'll take you a little while to wrap your head around.
And like,
Not,
so
it's not, and you could ask Ray. It's not
you can ask Ray.
rocket science.
Don't ask Ray. I mean, you can
Ray's
ask
got
Ray.
a few Voron, at least one, maybe two Vorons that he's set up from scratch. So
Let's see what we got here.
there was some probably growing pains in the beginning, but
Yeah.
once you kind of get it going, it's not so.
Oh no. I'm going to break everything, guys. Now you can see the
No,
secrets
don't break
behind
it.
Streamlabs. And don't look. This is like the Wizard of Oz and the man behind the curtain. So right here, I will just show you a little bit. If you go to Klipper 3D / Klipper, the firmware you flash to the board is the firmware you flash to the board. You don't have to compile it like you did Marlin. There's one firmware goes on the board. But then you can see on
You do have to configure it for your
well, yeah, but what the
board.
printer actually gets configured with this configuration file. So like if we were to look at, let's say, let's find Creality in this list here. Boom. This music's pretty chill.
And if
Pretty chill today, guys.
you go to your board manufacturer's website, they will have a Klipper guide typically for the board that you're using.
Some of them for sure,
Got it.
but
Reality's pretty good about it.
you can see
Or
here
not Reality, Big Tree Tech.
on this board, this is a Creality board. So this is actually like the 427 board that Creality has, like the silent board. And then you can see like that the sections, even though they're like in a different order, like we can control like our stepper drivers at the top, just like we were in Marlin, right? The bed, you define pins. So I think one of the biggest differences, like, and I said this is just like a high level, but like one of the bigger differences is you actually get to see like the pinout of the board as you're configuring it in the config file. Right? Because like in Marlin, as an example, most of your yeah, I'm just gonna grab the folder. I think I still have it. Most of your pin stuff gets done in the boards files. So if you guys remember, we went into
Right.
the boards. So let's see here. Just trying to find my Marlin source. There we go. So like bop. So in our Marlin and our source, and then if we went and we found, I think it's in live. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's
Core. Yeah. So you have boards and you have pins, and so the boards. So if you look in the boards of the Marlin, here we go. Here it comes. I like how it opened the same window. That's nice. It's lovely. Did it open though? I guess we'll find out. So like you can see here that your board actually has pin relationships inside of it too. Yeah. And some hey. There we go. And some definition stuff. And then anything that's not in the board control section here, like Greg said too, can be in the pins. No. I thought the pins were in here too. Did they hit pins? And so then you find the board mat or the chip type for the board. And then that gives the pin out that you'll need. So like if we look at, let's say, an LP1760. So this would be like the SKR 1.3 pins, right? And then you can look and see like, oh, well, I have an SKR 1.3. And then in here, you can see like it's matching all the pins to the definitions of the C file. But let's see if I can do this and this. Yes. You can see this is all done right here. So in some respects, it's easier because it's like literally right in front of your face now. You still do have like this relationship between a variable and its assignment, because this is what the firmware on your board reads, right? So, but like, yeah, like we went through all of the fan sections and stuff, but you can see like all of these pins are defined equally. It's just how they define them are different. So like this config file would be the equivalent of kind of your Marlin config and advanced config is, I guess, the moral of the story there. Like you set everything. It's interesting that you're like even like everything is grouped underneath the object that it's controlling.
Right.
And so you can do your PID, your max temps, everything in there. Now, so that's kind of like a high level thing. Let's close this and then I will go back, push button here. Right. And so I think our concern is we'll get going and then it kind of would break it up a bit too much.
Yeah, and Ray said in chat that he's suggesting also that September might be better because then we could do a straight run without stopping and people could follow week by week.
Yep.
So,
Now, one thing that we haven't done on the channel and that we'll follow this is we'll do a Klipper like normal video series. So we have our Marlin normal video series. And we'll do a Klipper normal video series. But
and then there's once you get Klipper done, then there's the control piece. So what are you going to use to control it? Like there's a couple different choices.
Yes.
I wouldn't recommend the Octoprint, okay? Just because they use a serial connection, not a UART connection.
Yeah, it can slow down a little bit, and you'll find some control issues for sure.
Yeah, so I would recommend like if you either mainsail or fluid. I'm using mainsail. Fluid is good too. They both are developed fairly regularly.
Isn't one a fork of the other?
Yeah, fluid I think is a fork of mainsail. I think I had to look that up to see which one was published first. But yeah. So
interface wise, those two are similar. And even to Octoprint, it's similar.
There was a delay, but they're both being actively developed again. So like there was a delay for about 6-7 months.
Yeah.
But like fluid was updated 14 days ago and mainsail was updated a month ago. So
now one other thing that we can talk about, like with Klipper, is you kind of lose your screen. So like if you're used to like the controller on your printer, you can make them work. There's support, but like I would argue that a better way to do it would be something like the Pi screen with a web interface, like just right on the Pi on your printer. Like remember we bought those here it is. So we bought these little Big Tree Tech Pi screens. You can plug right and it docks onto the top of the Pi. It's a little touch interface.
Or you can do like Ray was saying, he's been using like the Creality Sonic Pad. And then there's the Big Tree Tech Pad 7.
Yeah.
Which is it runs their compute module, Pi compatible module. And then he was saying there's an FL Sudden one, which I hadn't even heard of yet. So they're all very similar, really. Basically, you're running Raspberry Pi on them, a Raspberry, and you've got a screen, a web interface also that you can web into to get the back end stuff to more easily configure, but your quick stuff is done right on the screen for checking your stats on your prints and whatnot. So yeah,
for sure. So Gary's like, isn't UART and don't they aren't the same speed? So they do, but it's how the information gets compiled on each end that differs between serial and UART. Because UART, if I remember my book learning, it's transmitted in order and then reassembled at the other end, so that you always have this contiguous line of data. Where serial, it's a little bit different in that you're hoping it's in order, but it suffers the same thing, like computer networking does on a hub.
Yeah.
You could have transmission loss between the
There's
packets.
there's also if you use like Octoprint and whatnot, it's fully serial, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you use Klipper or sorry, not Klipper. If you use Mainsail or Fluid, they use the Moonraker API. So the API does the calls, and so it's way more efficient than just a serial of commands going through, because you're actually requesting from an API between the Klipper controller on. So, and this isn't talking to your printer, right? What we're talking about here is the interface between the Pi Klipper instance and the controller instance, which would be the Mainsail or Fluid. And they have an API, and it runs within the memory on the Pi. So it's very efficient there. You still go out via serial or UART with the very basic commands, which aren't really onerous at all, because they're just sending the basic controls, because all the heavy lifting now is done on the Pi. But if you run, the weird thing is if you run Octoprint on the Pi and you run Klipper on the Pi, the way Octoprint and Klipper communicate is via serial on the Pi. So it's way less efficient than Mainsail or Fluid, which is using the API to communicate with each other. So there's a more efficient and less of a bottleneck. So that's one of the reasons why it's more advantageous to use one of the Fluid or Klipper interfaces rather than Octoprint for controlling Klipper. So if it would be nice if they had a proper API connection.
Someone is at the front door.
But other than that, that's kind of the main reason to use the other two over Octoprint is it's narrower bandwidth.
I love it's magic. As Gary says, magic. Yeah, sorry about that. Somebody was at the front door. I have no idea. Usually the doorbell doesn't ring at my house. I want to show you guys this too. I downloaded it just because it's awesome. But I know that some of us are using like Raspberry Pis or similar, but I just wanted to show this really quick because it's not super new. It's relatively new. It's updated from an old video. But let me push the correct button here. And it's this. So this has changed Raspberry Pi. This when you're setting up Octoprint or all of the other guys, the Raspberry Pi Imager is now available. So it's the same idea as like using Bellina Etcher and some other ones. You throw a SD card into your computer. You choose the operating system in this widget though. So when you hit choose OS, it has lots of like options now. So you can like grab anything you want, from Raspberry to Ubuntu to I want to play video games. It does it for you. But if you click other general, no. It wasn't other general. Other specific? Yes. Other specific operating systems. You can see there's like a 3D printing one. And in the 3D printing one is all of your options for, everything from Octoprint to like Klipper to, and like they actually do have the Octo Klipper build in here.
And you can see they've got Mainsail.
They got Mainsail. They don't have Fluid, which
they don't have Fluid.
Which kind of, I don't know why. There's gotta, like, maybe it's because like the actual OS has to submit to Raspberry. I don't know how they actually come up with the list of OS, but like as soon as, like, let's say we were to pick one, so if we pick like Mainsail, let's pick Mainsail, and then you can see here we can get like, well, is it 32 or 64? that's based off of the single board controller you got. You have to know if it's a Pi, but you can see that they already recommend the 32 because it'll work on anything. Once you pick something, disappears. This little settings cog. This is nice now because you can set your host name, enable some of those hidden Raspberry Pi settings that we used to do in the config files, and then you can also set like the username and password for your Pi, which you should always change it. Yeah, like and then I usually uncheck the telemetry. Like that's like the sending anonymous data back to like Raspberry Pi, or I don't even know who it would go to. In this case, is it Moon or is it the
Moonraker?
Thank you. Yeah, Moonraker, Mainsail, Raspberry. I don't know, but the other thing.
You don't want to send your data. Don't send your data.
Yeah, don't send your data. Once you do that, you can click it. You click save. You click write. Wait 10 minutes. Have a coffee. It's done. You throw that in the Raspberry Pi. So they've simplified this whole thing, and like there is so many options. Moodle box. Boo.
But just so you're aware too, like those settings he was showing you with the Wi-Fi and whatnot. You can actually run the Raspberry Pi config utility from the command line and go in and update the Wi-Fi and your all your settings after the fact. On Octoprint, you can do that, or you can go into the WPA supplicant too. Like
well, that's so you can still use the supplicant, but they've changed it.
Yeah, it's better to run the utility because you can just change it. Because we did a lab the other day, and we had people having troubles, and it was actually would have been easier just to run the Raspberry Pi setup to fix the Wi-Fi than it would have been to rebuild the whole Pi.
Part of the problem and the conundrum you get into is if this part doesn't work, like you're joining the wireless LAN, if that fails, you have no way of connecting to the Pi through SSH, which means you're finding a cable or a video cord. I don't know what that is. It's so small. Well, yeah, an Ethernet cable.
Because then you can always get in and do your stuff. So
you're itty bitty, Greg, on this screen. You got to remember that. When we look at like the Raspberry Pi, if you have no network connection, SSH is there. Now I can see it. SSH is how you control, and you actually turn it on in here. Now the old way of doing it, like Greg mentioned, is still there. However, this is like their new preferred method because this actually writes it into the OS without actually having to boot into the file. I do like how they let you, like Gary says, the GUI lets you set credentials before you get in, which is great. If you guys have Octoprint instances or run newer Octoprints, you'll notice that, hey, Tyler. You'll notice that if you didn't change the password, there's a sanity check in Octoprint now that goes, hey, your password's still the default. Why don't you change me? And then it'll keep popping up. And then if you read the window, it'll say you can make this alert go away, but you shouldn't make the alert go away. You should go change your password.
Yeah, you shouldn't be running defaults on your stuff. So,
and then
it's a smart thing. We're a more advanced community out there. Don't leave your defaults. Come on.
I mean, I don't like advanced. The other thing too is, oftentimes in the wireless setup, and this is actually important for a Pi, you need to make sure you set the right country.
Country and case.
And case, yeah.
Right? Because your SSID, it will look for case. So if you have a capital N and a dash and a lowercase n or something,
you're gonna
make sure that you make it the same.
Yep.
But country's important because by default it goes to Great Britain, and they have different Wi-Fi channels.
Yep. So it might work, but it might not work.
So
And then it always grabs the country or the locale from your system settings. So like this one should be relatively close, and you don't really need, like right now it's going to set this to Edmonton, US, without me changing it, which is just fine for me. So just make sure that that's if you don't, and this says Great Britain, the keyboard won't work like you expect either, which is great. It's just great. So that's kind of the changes with the Raspberry Pi imager. Like I said, you can get all these baked in OSs. If those baked in OSs aren't good enough for you, you can still like use a custom one that you've downloaded.
You can manually do everything.
Yeah.
And be aware that using a alternate Pi device, if you are going to do that, will be a little different, because you will not necessarily be able to run the Raspberry and the image on those devices. You'll have to check with whatever device. So if you are, because if you're using something and you want to use the PIO pins on it to communicate with your whatever you have, if you're going to run the accelerometer or something, you're not going to be able to do that just on a PC with a Linux instance very easily. Like, I'm sure there's probably a way to do it, but all these computers have breakout pins specifically designed to expose different analog and digital pins for you to be able to operate additional sensors and devices. So but your OS is dependent on the manufacturer and what chip you're using. So if it's 100% compatible with Raspberry Pi, then you'll be fine. If it's not, you're going to have to compile whatever Linux is on their GitHub. And then you're going to have to go through the more manual install of pulling different repositories and whatnot to pull down your mainsail and all your resources that you need to get stood up to get your initial part going.
Now just to add, I guess, but like lots of the clones try to keep the pinout the same. Like there's the Big Tree Tech clone that they say you can run Raspbian on, but it's 50-50.
Well, I don't, Ray, do you have any experience with the Big Tree Tech, what is it, the MP4 or whatever, the I can't see, CP4, something like that? It's the Pi version of from Big Tree Tech, and I'm not sure because I know they have their own firmware and they have their own compiled operating system, but I don't know if it is 100% compatible. Ray might know because he's been playing with some of them.
Well, it says it's compatible, so I can't see why they would say it on their website.
No,
but like
some places say they are, and they kind of, sort of.
I suppose. Just need to get our hands on it then. But it's a 40-pin GPIO. That's often where it changes too for these boards. Is instead of like the full GPIO, they might give you like 28 pins out. And then the interface has to change with it. Like I know some of the stuff that we've been looking at, like the Orange Pi and the La Potato, you can actually get straight up Raspbian and Octoprint instances.
Ray said he hasn't had any problems. They've sold a bunch of them, but he hasn't used it personally yet.
Yeah, no, like the idea behind those ones where you could run Raspbian on them. And I know that there was the first batch, it would flash it, but then something, I forget what it was, but it's like every Big Tree Tech thing. It worked halfway there. So Dominic asks, I set up all my Pi instances 3 or 4 years ago. Is there any reason to reconfigure them? It depends.
Just software updates. Make sure you got all your patching done on them.
If you haven't done an upgrade on your OS, like the distro upgrades, and it's been 4 years, you probably will have to redo them to do the update because the certificate store would have expired.
Yeah. So if you update them on a regular basis and make sure, and there's different firmware patches too that you need to do. Then when you do the update and upgrade, it will do them, but you can also manually do them. I know the Pi 4, for example, had issues when it first came out with some power management stuff, and so once you did the firmware update, that fixed all that. So updating your Pis, keeping them up to date is important. One of the things that's kind of nice is Mainsail and Fluid have a update interface which shows you what revision of the API you're running. So Moonraker, Fluid, Klipper, and everything. So it has a little bit of everything. So yeah. I'm getting a call from my daughter for some reason. So I'm going to mute. I'll hand over to you, David.
That's funny because I was doing the same thing, so I had to go upstairs, but you do you first. So when you say drop it into the winter project, are you talking about like the Pi, or are you talking like another board into the Mars? Like I want to do, I don't know. I keep thinking about dropping like a Manta or something into my big Core XY, just because they're big Core XYs. Now over the course of the week on the Discord server, our good friend Dominic sent us a few things, one of which I've seen before. So there is a it's basically called,
I'm back.
it's an Ender Core XY kit. So I'm just gonna go yep. The complete Manta, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was like, just dropping the Pi in doesn't sound like much of a project. Not that it isn't, but yeah. So I think it was the link that Dom sent on our Discord was from the Edge. Oh no, it was Edge 3D. Okay, so different dude, yeah. But basically, let's see if we can find it. Let's see if I can make this a less sloppy picture so I can show you guys quality. Nope, this guy doesn't. Ah, yeah, okay. So this is. I'm just gonna go to my screen share quick. Sorry. So this is the beast. I don't know who that guy is, but he has a YouTube channel. So if you want to look at him, that's great. But you can see like he's got the he's Core XY, his Ender 3. So yeah, he's got the top gantries going and then up and down.
Cool.
It's kind of like I think I said it in the Discord comments too when I first saw it, but it's sort of like the Ender 7. So the Ender 7 is the Core XY basically size wise of Ender 3. We did get into
But the K1 is the replacement for that.
and that's just it, right? There's new replacements coming. Now, here's a thought experiment for you, Greg. This is direct question. How much benefit would you get from making the Ender 3 a Core XY printer?
You get a benefit of less money in your wallet.
Cheeky. I love it. So, like,
The
if
Ender
I,
worked really well. I mean,
Yeah.
it might be a bit faster and whatnot. I don't know. I guess you'd have to look at how much it would. I mean, if you want a cool project to do, it's a cool project. Really,
Yeah.
it's what it comes down to. I
Yeah.
personally, my Ender is very solid printer. I use it all the time, and so I don't know if I'd want to change it to Core XY. So
Yeah, and Ray makes a valid point. So, and we've seen this before with other updating mods. They usually cost around $600 if you buy like the kit for 'em to do the mods, and the Ender 7 is right around that.
Yeah.
So, like, if hypothetically, in a perfect world, if somebody gave me all the parts to do an upgrade to the Andrew
Oh,
3,
would I do it? Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I already have car swap, but like it wouldn't be the worst thing. You would be upgrading
So you're trying to sell your Core XY.
Well, yeah, somebody should buy it. Jeez. But like in a perfect world, like yeah, in theory it'll run faster. It's that betweeny spot between the 300 304 on then and the V1, the little guy.
Yeah.
Right. So it would have a place and it would work well. But I thought it was interesting. It popped up. There were a couple other things that we were confused about this week. Not confused, but when we looked at the picture, so on the Discord, we're like, "Wow, that's a giant resin printer," and then you click into it, and it's like, "Oh,
And it's
no, it is not."
It's not a resin printer.
I think I'm more likely to upgrade my Ender 5 with the Mercury 1 and leave the Ender 3 alone. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Although, do you have an Ender 5 or an Ender 5 like Pro or whatever you call it?
I think he's just a 5.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
can't remember. Like, the Ender... So, like, there's two types of 3D printing people out there. There are us that enjoy tinkering, and then if you say, hey, should I do this? And if it's tinkering, our answer is always like, yeah, tinker, right?
Well, no, because
But if you want your printer to work...
if you just want to print, and because...
But that's what I'm saying.
What we do encourage, at least we have the last few courses we've done, is, print first.
Well, yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's two type of people in the world.
Yeah.
There's the person that wants to take the VCR apart to see where the tape goes.
That's true.
And then, right?
We want you to print. We want you to get out there and start printing and enjoying the hobby and utilizing your printer. Are there nice little mods you can make to make your life better? Yes. Have a lot of them been done to some of the printers already? Yes. Like, for example, we just did a course and everyone got a Ender 3 Neo.
Mm-hmm.
V2 Neo?
V2 Neo, yeah.
And it's got silent steppers. Don't need to do that update. It's got tensioners on the Y and the X. Don't need to do that upgrade. It's got a CR touch. Don't need to add a BL touch to it. It has a flexible build plate. Don't need to do that. So it has a lot of the things that people would go out and buy extras for. So it is pretty, besides the firmware being a little weird, which we modified.
Yeah, but then you lose the pretty icons.
Yeah, but other than losing the pretty icons, you get more features.
But and we pointed that out, and I think everybody knows it, that like Creality, specifically Creality, is a company that I feel like they watch all the modding forums, and then when something good gets added, they're like, we'll just put that into the next one, right? Because like we got bed relief or the bed strain cable relief, then we got like drawers, and then you get this. Oh, everybody's silence. I mean, silent steppers were inevitable. I think, but like the printers, like you say, they're upgraded now to start with.
The only thing that the Neo doesn't have, which you would switch over to one of the other ones, is direct drive, right?
Yeah, and you could throw what's the one we got? The Sprite Pro.
Yeah, but they have the Ender 3. What is it? S1 and S1 Pro.
Yeah.
Which basically has all that stuff, and it has the Pro has the all metal Sprite, and then the S1 has a plastic levered Sprite. So I would go with the Pro.
It all depends too, right? Like, because like one of the features on the Neo, I would say, is like that they advertise is like the spring metal sheet thing for the build plate
Mhm.
Like, sure, it flexes, it's spring metal, but they didn't actually like. I don't have mine with me, but like the PEI or the powder coated PEI ones are really good. They still use some sort of sticker on top of like it was.
Yeah,
It's like a blacky.
it's better than the original
It for sure is, and
stuff.
it's an
That,
upgrade. I'm just saying, like that's the one thing that they forgot to copy paste.
but you can now just buy a flexible build plate and just plop it on and swap them. So you
Yep.
can have two. Right. I have a spare one right up here so that I can swap it out and away I go.
Dominic says,
my spare one's two-sided, so I have a flat side and a textured
and a
side.
texture side. Yeah, see, and I just have a smooth one. Like I just bought one off Amazon for like $10. That was just
Yeah,
smooth
I
on
went
both
and
sides.
visited our good friend Ray,
Yeah, and then
and
you got
I got a nice
a shiny.
shiny one. It's fairly thick PEI, and then I have my textured side.
Yeah.
So
Good for both applications if you want shiny.
well, and that's a personal preference thing. Some people don't like flat smooth, and some people do, and some people like the texture.
I do find if you're printing articulated things, sometimes the flat's easier.
Smooth is better.
Yeah, because the bumpy is like, maybe
Doesn't
it'll work.
quite together.
Yeah, it's just
It
weird.
also depends on how close you're.
Yeah, and
You can bypass that by doing a raft.
it's true, and then you can do like your extrusion multipliers too. So if you know it's gonna be too tight, you drop it down a bit, and under extrude.
There's lots of little tricks of the trade to get things all fitting nicely.
Like acetone.
Yeah.
No.
Dominic said he spent more time printing different hot end cooling solutions than anything else.
So
you know what?
Is, yeah.
And that's totally. I've done that. I did a whole series on the Banta mounts, and they were excellent. I've got a couple of mounts that I had to customize too, that to make them work with different mounting systems. Because once you go to direct drive, the volume of space you have to work with changes quite a bit. So having different fans and whatnot is kind of important to get your cooling right. And it's more important on more exotic materials. PLA is pretty forgiving depending on as long as you have like fairly okay printing or cooling. So yeah.
It's very true. It's very true. I mean, like, can cooling be an issue? Sure, but sometimes when you're printing those things, Dominic, and I ran into it when I was trying to see which one was best. I melted so many of those things, so many, because the problem too is like, if you're printing PLA and that's what you're printing your hot end cooling systems out of, you're gonna have like that hot end and it'll melt then. So then you're like, well, maybe I'll try PETG or ABS. And the only one that in that list is really ABS that can stand up to the heat of almost all your prints. That's that's what the original duct is made on the Ender 3 too. So like
it's ABS or nylon or something.
Yeah, so if you're printing the, I guess, like prototype with the PLA, right?
Yeah,
but
and that's what I did. I prototyped a whole bunch.
And then once it's time, go look to your bins of filament and go, do I have ABS? Can I print ABS? And then you have to remember though too, when you're printing some of those things in ABS doesn't print with cooling, and it warps and it droops. So then
so then you don't need the cooling pieces.
Yeah, just throw them all away.
Not all the way, but
you need them for other stuff. But
you need them for other stuff.
But like the Voron parts, if you look at when you're printing those ones as an example, you can tell that the designers are like, this is going to be ABS. It's not cooled. I need to make sure all my angles are right, that there's not a lot of bridging. And it actually does really well. If you pop on Thingiverse and you look at Simon's Cat or whatever it is, there's a good chance that it will print really good in PLA. But then if you try to print something even like Petchy that sometimes has trouble bridging, it might not succeed.
Or you got the wispy strings and
Okay, he's like, no problem. Print it in PLA, and then metal cast it.
or why not just
Yep.
CNC it directly? Yeah.
Raymond says, I only prototype in the material I want to print in. They all print so differently. And I agree with that.
Yeah, if you're finalizing on like Petchy,
Yeah.
I could see prototyping in that because
The holes change too in the models.
Yeah.
And
And shrinkage, right? There's
Yeah.
a certain amount, like once Petchy cools or PLA cools, right? There is some deformation that happens in the cooling process. So you have to look at that because you're going to probably have to compensate a bit when you're making your design so that it comes out to be dimensionally the way you want it to be.
Yep.
So, and that's it. It doesn't matter if it's nylon or ABS or Petchy. There are different properties you've got to be aware of.
Tease out of, and I mean, there are programs too that know the material difference if you use them correctly. Like it knows if it's ABS, it needs so much tolerance between a part, or it knows that if you're 3D printing, that maybe you should have a little bit more than like an exact fit, right? And in programs like Fusion, you can say parametrically, I want like 0.3 millimeters or whatever number, 0.04 or something between my parts, so I know that when I go to clip them together, they're going to actually like snap and click. And I think that's like,
and that's the one thing that I've done on most of my designs, but they're mostly with PLA, right?
Yeah.
So I would have to kind of develop some skills in the ABS, which I think I will do with a Hulk over there. I want to put some parts in ABS, but I can't do it in my house. I want to do it.
Just tell Ronan she has to move out, and then you can just use that.
I suppose I could put some active carbon.
So like ABS is actually, like, for as tricky as it is to start printing, once you're printing it, it's not terrible for a material. But like the Petchy is always a fun one because technically you got to move the nozzle just a touch closer to the bed when you're printing it, which means that there's a little more squish out, which means that line width changes.
I haven't really found that on mine, but I don't know.
But like the overall properties, like you say, are a little different. But I'm gonna push a button and say thank you to some folk. Hey, thanks, folks. You're on this list. You're important to us. You keep the little things going, the lights on, so to speak. So thanks, Helge, up there. And thanks to everybody else in the middle. You guys are super important. If you want to follow us along on Patreon, it's patreon.com/3dmakeit. And if you're still kicking, remember to like, share, subscribe. These things for the channel. It grows it a bit, makes the community bigger.
And there's also our website, which you can always go anytime, 3dmakeit.ca. And we have new stuff in the store.
Not that we're shelling it.
You can, but we put our logo on a bunch of stuff. So if you want a hat or a sticker or something, feel free to check it out. If you don't want to spend money on that stuff, that's okay too.
But yeah, the website has like a bunch of projects, and you guys know firmware's up there when we update it and that kind of stuff. That'd be great if websites weren't 24/7. Like, yeah, visit our website, but it's only open from midnight till 2 in the morning. Oh dear. Okay, I think we have a new marketing concept. Forget forget the rush sale feel. It's just the
Well,
rush website.
it's like buying tickets from Ticketmaster. You have to
Uh,
rush there right at the time,
roll the dice.
and
Hey,
then you won't get it.
I have a question for everybody watching right now because most of you are like our Patreons and stuff, and I think Tyler might be here still. I don't know, but okay, the new layout for the stream with the people bigger but smaller but bigger, and the blue background. What do you think of the video background right now? I'm curious. I feel it needs one more touch. Greg's not super sold on it. So I'm curious to what you guys think. So if you're on Discord and you want to take a minute to tell us about this particular layout, I think it's close. I think it needs something up top just to balance things. But like,
Yeah, or we don't need to be as rectangular.
no, I want to be rectangular. Look at my virtual backgrounds. No, I'm just
But
kidding.
you could still be more square, and then we're bigger.
Yeah, I suppose. So this is the new one. This is the terrifying old one. This is the new one that you get M&Ms and Smarties with. This one you get dirt. Boo. They both look okay. So like, I'm just wondering, do you guys like
They're
the
not
new
that
thing or the old thing?
They're not that
Let us know on the Patreon or in the comments if you're watching this after. A news crawl. Ooh, we should do 2 news crawls that go the different ways. And
Hey,
then
we could do can we do a feeder news crawl of all
Oh
the
my God.
latest updates?
Yes. What?
And then it pulls in like the top news item off a feeder.
Let's see. There's this one. Is it this one? Hold on, guys. I gotta find it.
We
If you-
started a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Oh.
I won't be able to find it right now. If you go into the web archives, though, you can find all the GeoCities sites that used to exist, and oh my goodness. If you want to walk down memory lane, go to the web archive, search GeoCities, have fun. You can spend all day there. Hey, is that a dancing penguin? Yes, it is. All right, but we've reached the top of the hour, friends. So I think what we've decided for our Klipper is we'll come back and circle back on that in the fall. So we might hit a few of the slicer features now that we're getting closer to the end of the actual release of Prusa. I feel like we can start talking some of the features and showing them off now.
Yeah.
Because once you get beta, you're pretty much there.
between now and September, we'll have more stuff. It'll be more sporadic, but we will have more stuff, and we'll do live feeds whenever we can.
Yes, and shorts. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I promise we won't do shorts. I hate shorts. All right,
Changing the alignment to drive the OCD folks crazy.
right? Boop. Okay. There we go. Perfect, guys. Perfect. All right. But on a serious note, thank you for coming. We appreciate you all. Check out 3dmakeit.com or CA. Wow, not com. Never go com. CA. 3dmakeit.ca for all of our stuffs. Until next time, have a good one.
Bye.